Yes, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Chopping It Up with Charms. I'm back here again, and guess what? It's over. The Legia Warsaw fixture is finished, and we are through. I don't know how we've managed to make that close, make that difficult, especially after coming off the back of a 3-0. Very, successful victory. I thought we looked fantastic, being away from home. It wasn't a full-strength team. Very rarely does this happen, but I got a text from Dan that was saying Maresca might have his job here. The side didn't look too strong. The second fixture, the squad is insurmountably stronger, and we've managed to play a worse game, especially at home. It's very confusing. I would have never expected their goalkeeper to win man of the match. Obviously, especially off the fact that they've won the game. I would expect it to go to a goal threat, goal scorer, someone who's just managed to find that pocket of space. But no, we were ourselves. We were very aggressive. We were at the goalkeeper the whole game, and I think that it showed in what he had. As a result. I think that the performance has been noted. I think that a lot of people were very impressed by Legia Warsaw, particularly defensively in that game. He had to make 6 saves, goals prevented 1.8, saves from inside. Six strong saves. A lot of them very, once again, in-his-face type saves. I remember there was an opportunity Cole Palmer had where he kind of lunged at it with his head after Tyreek George had forced the goalkeeper to make a save. A lot of very aggressive football as per, but once again, they've ended up coming up on top. And I can't tell you the long and short of it. I can't tell you exactly what it is. I've watched the match back quite intently, to be totally honest. I can't tell you. It seemed like head loss. It seemed like we were very confident with the fact that we're through, so we didn't mind losing this game. But, the full strength squad that we put out, starting Palmer, which wasn't the case last week, starting Jackson. I think we really wanted to go out there and show what we were able to do at home. And I think we got muted. And that's not really a good look, particularly against a side like Legia Warsaw, who, totally frank, deserved to win that game, all in. And it pains me to say that because many a time this season we lost a game that I think we deserved to either win or get a point out of. We've just dropped the ball, made a mistake or two, or Robert Sanchez has been up to his hijinks or something like that. But today I can't put it. I can't pick a particular person to call a fault for. To be honest, I can only really call Cucurella as the one player who I was impressed with to some degree. Not only scoring but scoring a second goal 10 minutes later that was VAR'd off. I thought was very harshly VAR'd off. I mean, the offside is razor margins, and you got to give him it's offside, but when VAR's coming into play, it's never a happy ending. But yeah, I think Reece James had a bit of a stinker, to be totally honest, particularly for their second goal. I think he got caught in the moment. It seemed like a lot of, once again, head loss. It seemed like a lot of jostling and rioting and worrying about whether the referee's going to step in to stop this guy who's pushing you and shoving you. But it's football, man. It's a contact sport, and Reece James knows this very well. He's on the other side of it a lot of the time. He's normally that player that's rubbing and jostling a player outside the edge of the box, but it's the player that he's ended up arguing with who's ended up scoring. And I think it's that little moment of finding a hole. They know what they're doing against a side like us. They know that we can be very reactionary. And I think that's came to fruition on their side. And I think that they're... I don't think they're lucky to come away with a win. I think ultimately they were the better team on the day. And although we could have probably done more to bag, ultimately we put the ball in the net more than they did. We just had 2 goals VAR'd off, Obviously, the Tyreek George one, the build-up from Noni Madueke was offside, but I think Noni could have played a better run, personally. I don't think he had a fantastic game coming off of the bench for Sancho. But I'll say it. Or I think he came off for Jackson, actually, if I'm not mistaken. But either or, they both went off. Madueke went off for Palmer. No, sorry, Madueke came on for Palmer. And then Sancho went off later in the game for Pedro Neto. That makes sense there. From what I was able to deduce from that match, an argument that me and Dan have been having recently is who's Chelsea's best winger? Who is the strongest winger at Chelsea Football Club? And, I said a couple of weeks ago, I honestly think it's Jadon Sancho. And the fact that we're, looking to pay Man United to take him back, I think, at the time, I kind of understood it based on we're taking a pretty heinous fee on a player like Jadon Sancho at 25 to 30 million. So if it doesn't work out, we should fork over a bit of dough for them for the effort. And I think it has worked out, honestly. And I think today is a great example of it. Notching up the assist, one thing. But I think overall, the performance, of the aggressive nature of wanting to get in behind and wanting to attack players while in the box, wanting to make players make a mistake and, maybe trip you up. Because what happens if they don't give you the penalty? They give you an opportunity, or they give you a corner, or they've defended it perfectly. And I think a team like Legia Warsaw will struggle to do the latter. They will make a mistake, and I think that Sancho really got the best of them today. He was once again the only player bar Cucurella who was borderline impressive. I won't go as far as to call him that. I just think he had a very, very good game. I mean, for me, I think he was the best player on the pitch, including Cucurella. I think that he was the most forward-thinking, once again, the most aggressive, and the way that he drives in at fullbacks, like, come on, then what are you going to do, lad? Like, I like that, and I want that more from our players. I feel like that's one thing that we've lacked in recent years, is a winger who's going to be direct and is going to, add a bit of flair and a bit of fuck you into his game, because that's what I want to see. And the only exception for Sancho, or the only outlier that you could say has been a better winger in the full season, is probably Noni Madueke. And I just straight disagree with that. As much as he has put in good performances, and maybe he's put in maybe more good performances than Jadon Sancho, I don't think he's put in as many consistent performances as Sancho. They're meaning maybe he's got an 8 out of 10 more weeks than Sancho. He definitely hasn't got a 7 more weeks than Sancho. That's for sure. Sancho's reliability is something that I'm growing comfortable to. It's something that I've been, to some degree, once again, impressed with. I mean, I'm able to diverse myself this time. So I've actually got the SofaScore stats up this week. And if you look at it, from June till now, you're looking at a 7, a 6.6, a 6.9, a 6.6, a 7.3, a 7, a 7.3, a 7.1, a 6.9, a 6.7, a 7.0, a 7.4. You're looking at consistent performances, not consistently average around that 5 mark. Consistently good, because I'll take an 8 as great. I'll take in and around that 7 mark as good. And stats don't mean everything. I'm looking at this after the fact. My opinion has influenced the research, which is backed up my opinion, so I genuinely believe that the consistency of Sancho at his time in Chelsea is more than enough merits him to a transfer. I think not only should he stay, but I think we should look at him as a player that we arguably keep into that front lineup. That starting lineup of Nicholas Jackson, Cole Palmer. We've always questioned who's going to be in and around that on the wings. And where Pedro Neto is probably my favourite choice, he's not really done himself much justice, particularly in recent weeks and recent months. Noni Madueke, in my opinion, is a player from the same ilk as that. I look at the performance averages, and although it's in and around the same, obviously, and plus the injury that left him out for a month, I'm looking at a lot more dips in the lower end of 6s, then followed by a good performance, followed by a couple of dip in average performances. And once again, the opinion has forced the research, which has backed up the opinion. And I think Noni Madueke is his second choice, especially on that right-hand flank, which I think Jadon Sancho has nailed down at this point. Now, I do like Pedro Neto playing in off those flanks, but his performances are not matching with the ability that I know that the kid has. I know he can do a lot more, but he's just not doing it. So right now, I would say Jadon Sancho is our best winger. And that game there has confirmed it for me. Even off the back of a loss, I think that the ability to try and try again is something that's very apparent in his game. And it's something I've been very impressed with as of recent. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the rest of this tournament. What is going to happen in the rest of this tournament? Should I be confident? Are we going to lose it to some random scrub team? I don't think so. The rest of the teams on the other bracket is Real Betis versus Fiorentina. One of those two teams will be in the final. And my money would be on Real Betis. I think that they've just overall played a better game. They've had a dominant 4-0 win over Vitória, Portuguese side who are solid. Solid enough to be in this European spot. But Real Betis walked through them. Antony's looked fantastic recently. Not an amazing look going 1-1 with Jagiellonia. How are Chelsea in this tournament, mate? This is a joke. But yeah, drawing 1-1 with Jagiellonia sees them in the final with Fiorentina, who drew 2-2 against Celje. So Chelsea will now be playing Djurgården. This is not real. We need to win this fucking tournament. I'm done. I'm sick. I'm looking at the rest of the teams in the tournament. I'm seeing Real Betis versus Fiorentina in a semi-final bracket, which is a round of 16 bracket in the Champions League. To be honest, in the Europa, this is a qualification bracket. And then Chelsea versus Djurgården, who, as far as my research can tell me, finished 9th last season. Was it 9th? It's embarrassing. They finished 4th outside of European qualification brackets in Sweden. And this season are currently 3rd, coming off the back of 3 games, a loss, a win and a loss in the Swedish top division. I am inexplainably frustrated that we've lost the game to Legia Warsaw and now have to play this team who are going to be saying, we can beat these guys. We are not a team that Djurgården can look at and say that they're going to beat. It's beyond frustrating, but we will win it. And we will win this tournament, and we will still have won more tournaments in Europe than any other club in London, and we would have won more trophies in 1 year than Tottenham have done in 25. Rant over. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow the channel. You'll get one of these every Friday at 6:30, chopping it up with Charms. We're going to stay a bit more on the pre-recorded content as we need to get paid. We need to go out there and get these views. So please share this around. Please watch the way through. I don't put all of this passion, all of this research, heart on my sleeve for you for nothing. So make it worth my time. I will still do it anyways. I love doing this. But yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. Two Blues, I'm Charms. Follow me on all the socials. Two Blues Charms. See Money Picks for all of your betting information, particularly UFC betting information. God bless, and I will see you at the top. Up the Chels. Love.